had Saturday football yesterday, and oh brother, the Colts blew the biggest lead in NFL history. They were up 33-0 at halftime on the Vikings before losing 39-36 in OT. It is the largest comeback in NFL history, and poor Matt Ryan is now on the losing side of the biggest comebacks in regular season and Super Bowl history, just when he thought he would never escape the 28-3 jokes. Here we are again. Okay, more on the Vikings later. We're going to talk about them and how their futures were affected by this game. And spoiler alert, it might not have been in the way that you would think. I'm Jesse Cofield. You're watching The Sweat. For the next 30 minutes, we were taking a deep dive into the DraftKings Sportsbook, talking bets, and I'm doing it with my experts, VSiN's Josh Applebaum. We got DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan. They are the best in the biz. All right, guys, every week on the show, we get you guys to give your best bets, right? And then we keep track throughout the season and see how you've been doing. So let's take a look at where we are so far in our best bet standings on the year. So, Steve, last week, you took the Steelers' money line. Mitch Trubisky played spoiler when he took over for Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I did.
Pittsburgh fell 16-14. That was your first L of the season, so you're 10-1-1 now. Josh, you took the Detroit money line. The Lions delivered a win over the Vikings 34-23, bringing you to 8-4-1. Very nice. Julian is not here, but he got the W last week when he took the Pats money line. They took down the Cardinals, so he is now 8-5-1. The three of you combined through 14 weeks are 26-10-3. That's good for about 66-ish% win percentage here. So let's try and keep it going, okay? Let's give the people a win this week. On to week 15. Let's get your best bets. Josh, where are you going?
I'm going to go first. I'm a Patriots fan, but I'm going Raiders. I'm going to bet against my Pats today. Give me Raiders on the money line. Shop around. They're around minus 130 here. What I like about this game, a couple of reasons. Number one, line movement. I'm a big line movement guy. I want to see what the market is doing, how it's reacting, take my bias out of the equation. Where's the big money flowing? It looks to be on the Vegas Raiders here. This game's been all, kind of back and forth all week. At one point, it was kind of a pick 'em opener. At one point, it was Patriots -1. But if you look at the last 24 to 48 hours, it's been all Raiders money. They're up to -1.5, -2 at some shops here. Couple things going on. They are a fade the trendy dog play. The Patriots are the public play. McDaniels versus Belichick. This kind of first, rivalry matchup here with something to prove on the McDaniels side. But only about 40% of bets are on Vegas. The majority of bets are on the Patriots. Yet the line is going to Vegas. So it tells me some respect and money going with the Raiders here. Big rest advantage, guys. You look at the Raiders. They haven't played since the 8th of December. They played on that Thursday night. Something to avenge there. Remember that bad loss with Baker Mayfield against the Rams. Patriots played on Monday Night Football. So it's a short week for the Pats. Raiders have extra rest. The line's going to the Raiders. Also, they're going to get a lot of good guys back from injury here, Jesse. You're going to get Darren Waller back. You're going to get Hunter Renfrow back. I just don't think the Patriots offensively can keep up with the Raiders. I'm going Raiders on the money line to win in McDaniels' revenge game today.
Okay. Steve, you on the other hand like the Bengals here.
Yeah, going with arguably one of the hottest teams against the spread in the NFL right now. The Cincinnati Bengals have covered in 5 straight games now. That brings them to 10-3 against the spread on the season. Going up against one of the worst teams at covering the spread, especially at home. The Buccaneers have yet to cover a spread at home this season. They're 0-5-1 against the spread at home. Only the Buccaneers and the Ravens are the only two teams that have yet to cover the spread at home this season. This Bengals team seems to be getting better and better and better. I know a couple of their receivers are questionable for today with Higgins and Boyd, but even at that rate, it feels like it doesn't even matter at this point, because whether it's Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, even like someone like Hayden Hurst has done so well for this team all throughout the year. I think the Bengals continue to roll against the Buccaneers, who just continue to struggle offensively, especially as of late. 4 bad matchups in a row. This is not a great one for them either. Give me the Bengals to cover this spread at -3.5.
All right, good stuff. And Julian is not here. He is sick, but we do have his best bet. He is going Greg Dulcich over 39.5 receiving yards. And he wanted me to add that in Broncos games versus the Jets with Brett Rippon, Dulcich caught 6 of 9 targets for 51 yards, and Cardinals are last in defending the tight end. So if you think he's crazy, take it up with him, okay? We got your best bets, but now let's take a look at some other trends for Week 15. So some stuff to keep your eye on if you're looking through the DK Sportsbook trying to find some other bets. Here are some numbers to think about. Atlanta at New Orleans. Falcons have rookie Desmond Ridder at the helm in his first career start. Now, rookie QBs 9-5 against the spread this season. And Lions and Jets facing off at 1 p.m. Jared Goff is elite against the spread in the 1 p.m. window. 26-13. He's 26-29-2 against the spread in all other games. And finally, Chargers 3-point favorites over the Titans today. But through his career, Justin Herbert is better against the spread as a dog, actually. 11-6 against the spread as an underdog, 13-15 against the spread as a favorite. So good stuff to keep in mind. Josh, what do you think about that, though? That little stat there.
Yeah, I would look toward, Jesse, that Lions-Jets game. This one's fascinating to me because this one's, at one point, again, it's kind of like the Raiders-Patriots game. It's gone back and forth here. You open it around a pick 'em. At one point, it was Detroit -1. Everyone's taking Detroit. I can't blame the public here. Detroit's playing great under Campbell. They won a bunch of games. Obviously, you have the Jets going to Zach Wilson. But once it was announced that Zach Wilson is in, the line actually went further to the Jets. The Jets are up to -1.5. Somebody likes the Jets here. If they're only getting around 30% of bets. This is one of those, my eye test tells me take Detroit, but it looks like the numbers here are leaning toward the Jets.
All right, good stuff, guys. So those are some Week 15 trends just to keep in mind here as you're strolling through the DK Sportsbook. Coming up, we're going to take a look at some key storylines that might have our analysts sweating a little bit. Might have you guys a little nervous, okay? The Sweat presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll be right back.
I'm petrified.
The wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook is officially live in Maryland. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code SWEAT to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now.
Welcome back to The Sweat presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm your host, Jesse Cofield. I've got over at the LED here, Steve Buchanan, Josh Applebaum, and they are trying to stay dry because this segment is called What Are You Sweating? So basically we're talking Week 15 storylines that are like giving you some pause, making you a little nervous about placing certain bets. So let's start with the Lions, who are rolling. Okay, they are rolling. They're facing a Jets team that have QB non grata, Zach Wilson, back in as QB for the injured Mike White. So Steve, any worry about how the Jets react to him being back under center? Lions are 1.5 point favorites, basically a pick 'em here. Josh was saying earlier how a lot of the money's coming in on the Jets here.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that that's the right play here by any means. I mean, here's the thing. You have to wonder, how are the Jets going to run this game here? Because obviously Zach Wilson had to take a seat to old Mike White, household name Mike White. And Mike White has performed. Actually, let me take that back. The Jets offense has performed exceptionally better with Mike White. You look at Zach Wilson on the season before he was benched, he was barely even completing half of his pass attempts on the year. Only 6.8 yards per pass attempt. If you match that up with some of the other quarterbacks in the league, that's one of the lowest in the league. Now, to be fair, the Detroit secondary is allowing the second most yards per pass attempt in the league at 7.5. So this is an opportunity for Zach Wilson to go downfield, but he doesn't feel like he has the rapport with his receivers like Mike White has had there. So I think we're going to see a very conservative approach here with the Jets. Zonovan Knight has been somebody that's been really playing well. I wouldn't be surprised if they're running the ball with him more in this game, but I don't really like anything about the Jets today. I will 100% be backing the Lions in this game.
Yeah, Josh, and Jared Goff has a 30 QBR rating in 9 career games when the temperature is below 40 degrees.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of factors here, and I think, you bring up a lot of good points just from kind of Steve's perspective and the way the books are looking at this. To me, this is kind of a game where the books seem to be taking a position because, again, I think as a bettor, we have kind of the way we see the games, and it seems to me, obvious play here. Take Detroit. They're playing great recently. They've won, 5 of their last 6. New York has lost 2 straight. Zach Wilson, we all know last time we saw him, he had a bad loss against the Patriots, didn't take any responsibility for that. But has Zach Wilson been humbled at all? Being sat, seeing Mike White play great and the team rally around him. You did see one injury, though. Keep an eye on inactives. Quinnen Williams is out for this game, I just noticed. But this is one of those games where, again, it feels like Detroit, but I think if you're a bettor like me, you kind of got to stay true to the numbers here. And the fact that you're getting 70% of bets taking Detroit seems obvious. Anytime it's an obvious play, sometimes it does come through. But to me, it looks like the fact that this was a pick'em. It was actually at one point -1 Detroit. Now we're flipping to -1.5 Jets. Looks to me like the Jets are the sharp bet.
All right, guys, well, the 12-1 Eagles have clinched a playoff berth, right? They're 2 games ahead of the Vikings and Cowboys for the division, first-round bye. So, Josh, are you possibly maybe sweating actually like a little bit of a letdown game here on the road in Chicago? Now they have a cushion.
That's what you worry about because obviously you have this division wrapped up here, so how much are you playing for? Still want to get that 1 seed, and again, that 1 seed gets the bye. Remember, it used to be both top 2 seeds would get the bye, so that's still important here. You're playing Chicago. I mean, even if you take a little bit of your foot off the gas as a team that's really struggled, the Bears are going for a top pick. I did see a couple things going on here. If you are worried about maybe winning this game but not covering the big number, it's -8.5 with the Philadelphia Eagles. You could take them down to -2.5. That's a teaser where you go through 7, you go through 3, kind of the Wong teaser, multiple key numbers there, strategic way to approach teasers. But I'd be looking, Jesse, at the under in this game. Public's taking the over. They see this high-flying offense here for the Eagles, but it opened 48.5. It stayed 48.5. Windy City, the wind, it's going to be cold, 15-mile-per-hour winds. In a conference game, when the wind blows 10 miles per hour or more, the under is 30-13, 70% this year. So maybe a tease down the Eagles. I'd look at an underplay in this game, though.
Steve, spread 8.5 now. How do you feel about this game?
I like the Eagles in this one here. I mean, the Eagles could easily waltz into this game, not being firing on all cylinders, and still put up 30 points against this defense. Over the last 3 games, the Eagles are averaging 41 points per game. I mean, you're kidding me. Now they're going up against Chicago, who defensively challenged is a nice way to put it. When you're talking about Chicago here, this is a team that's allowing an average of 25.6 points on the year. That's the 3rd highest amount in the league. You mentioned only 1 team gets the bye. That is so important now because there's only 1 team per conference that's getting the bye. So you can say that they have this cushion here. This is more of a cushion if the Vikings lost yesterday. Now that the Vikings win, this kind of puts a little bit of a screw in everything here. The Eagles still have to play as hard as they can right now because that bye is more important than ever because you're not getting the 2 teams with the bye in this one here. So I think it's still pedal to the metal for the Eagles here. No problem with the spread. Would be worried about the under just because literally the Eagles could cover it on their own with the way that they've been playing right now. So give me the Eagles in this one. I think they're still firing on all cylinders here this week.
All right, well, Mitch Trubisky filled in for Kenny Pickett last
Yeah, he
week.
did.
He handed Steve his first loss of the season on his best bet. Sorry, Steve. 1 Steelers wide receiver. Yeah, persona non grata for Steve. 1 Steelers wide receiver, Deontay Johnson, actually said earlier in the week that he'd like to see Mason Rudolph get a shot with Pickett out. Reports say Trubisky should, or could, but maybe should, have a short leash this week. Steve, any worry about a QB controversy, or do you welcome it?
First of all, Deontay Johnson, you're not the coach, okay? Just keep your mouth shut, get on the field and catch from whoever is going to be passing it to you, whether it's Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph, whatever. Mason Rudolph has had a number of opportunities now with the Steelers. He's not that guy. He's the only guy that gets bashed overhead with a helmet. That's the only thing that Mason Rudolph has done for this Steelers team. It should be Mitch Trubisky. Of the 2, I would say Mitch Trubisky is the more talented of the two, but we're talking about a very low bar to clear here. At least Mitch Trubisky can get a little bit of offense with the legs here. There is no quarterback controversy with the Steelers just because Deontay Johnson wants to make that happen, okay? It's Mitch Trubisky. It should be Mitch Trubisky, even after handing me my first loss. We're going to put an asterisk on that record because in games where nobody gets injured, I'm still undefeated, okay? So let's just make that perfectly clear. I would never have taken the Steelers if Mitch Trubisky was under center. But quarterback controversy, let's see what you have to say. Don't you say this is a controversy.
I don't know if it's a controversy, but I would just say from the locker room perspective, you don't want to hear this if you're Mike Tomlin. You don't want players talking about they want this quarterback, that quarterback. I just think that's not really a good signal here. I'm actually going Carolina in this game. It's a money line play for me. You're up to -2.5. This was a pick'em type number, and immediately when this line dropped early, I think it was like late Sunday, we saw an opener of a pick'em, got immediately up to -1, -2. You got all the way to -3. There was some buyback on the Steelers +3, bringing it back down to 2.5. But basically the public split 50-50, but it seems to me all liabilities on Carolina here. And Carolina, don't laugh, Steve, they've won, 3 of their last 4, 3 of their last 5.
Pretty good.
They could win that division. I mean, they have motivation. It's crazy to say.
It's disgusting.
I'm going money line here, and I'm going to go with Carolina. I'm going with Darnold, as crazy as it sounds.
All right, that's what we are sweating today. Do with it what you will. Up next, we're going to get a visit from the bets of Christmas past, present, and future to try and make you some money like that high roller, Mr. Scrooge. The Sweat, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll be right back. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this season, new customers can bet $5 to win $150 in free bets if your team's moneyline bet wins. Use code SWEAT when you sign up. Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Jesse Cofield here with Steve Buchanan. Now, as you know, there were 3 games yesterday. We had Saturday NFL action.
Do you like Saturday games? I'm not a big fan.
No, because it kind of then takes up your entire weekend.
That's right.
You're like, all right, well,
I'm a busy guy. You know
see you later, family. Holiday season. Yeah. All right. We're going to recap them, though, with a little DraftKings future spin, a.k.a. bets of Christmas past, present, and future. So, Steve, absolutely insane comeback from Minnesota yesterday. I mean, that was
incredible.
Wild. However, a win isn't always a win with the odds makers. Interesting. Okay, Vikings started the year plus 3,500 to win the Super Bowl, plus 250 for the division. If you put money on them to win the North, congrats. They clinched with the comeback yesterday. But before yesterday's game, they were plus 2,500 to win it all, plus 900 to make the Super Bowl. Those odds decreased after yesterday. Now they're plus 2,800 to win it all, plus 1,100 to win the NFC. So, Steve, is there a future that you like for the Vikings at this point?
It's a little tough at this point when you're getting that late, excuse me, into the season. You still can take them to go over 12.5 wins. It's a little juiced up here. It's at -150, but I think they have at least 2 more wins left when you consider the schedule that they have left to play. They're playing the Giants, the Packers, and the Bears. I mean, 3 teams that are pretty much not really going anywhere at this point. The Giants is going to be the most competitive game that they have left on that schedule. Packers and Bears not expected to be going anywhere here, so there is some of that there. Now, there is some worry there because obviously the Vikings, as we saw last week, defensively, they are really struggling here. For them to give up 33 points in the first half, they were able to come back, which is great, but that is not something that's going to be happening. That's kind of an outlier here, but with that remaining schedule, I think over 12.5 wins is something still worth taking, even at the -150, because there is 3 at least. All 3 of those games are winnable. I think they can at least take 2 of those.
All right, well, the Ravens fell yesterday to the Browns, and it looks like their future relies on Lamar Jackson, as they currently sit at +2,500 to win it all. +1,200 to win the AFC. Now they're behind the Bengals in the North with +105 odds to win the division. So they were right around there at the start of the season, +2,000 for a Super Bowl, still +1,000 for the AFC, +140 for the division. So what is the future bet for the Ravens?
So I think there's actually going in a little bit of a different direction here. Instead of betting on the Ravens, I think this is actually a good spot to get the Bengals to win the AFC North instead. You're getting that at -125. So that's what the odds are set for right now. Now, obviously, you could have got a better number if you were betting that before the Ravens game happened, but that doesn't matter anymore. We're talking about what you can get at this point. I like them to win today against the Bucs. That would obviously solidify themselves even further to win this division here. But the Ravens are really struggling with Huntley at this point. I know they're trying to get Lamar Jackson back, but in the 3 games that Huntley has played now for the Ravens, they're averaging less than 10 points per game. That offense has been completely stagnant without Lamar Jackson in there. By the time Jackson comes back, might be too little too late for the Ravens at this point. So at this rate, there's nothing I'm really interested in for the Ravens. I'd rather kind of take my attention now to the Bengals, get them to win the division at -125. I think that's the better play that you can make.
All right, well, instant classic yesterday for Josh Allen and the Bills. Led them to a 4th quarter comeback to clinch a playoff berth, take control of the AFC East. Bills started out at the favorites, +550 to win it all, obviously. Still at the top, sitting at +310 here. So where are you looking for a futures bet for the Bills?
Yeah, I do worry about the Bills here. They were able to get that win against the Dolphins. It was great, but that was a very close game, and I think it really kind of showed how much the Bills have really kind of taken a step back, at least defensively. This was a team that you really kind of worried about playing them defensively, but the secondary has been very beatable. Obviously, the loss of Von Miller and that pass rush really takes a step back here. If there's a future I want to take on the Bills right now, I actually like Josh Allen to win MVP at 8-1. You could have gotten much longer odds again yesterday, but who cares about that? We're talking about what's going on right now, but that performance last night was one of the best that we've seen really since he injured his elbow. 304 passing yards, 4 touchdowns throw, hasn't thrown an interception now in 3 straight games. I still think there's an opportunity for Allen to swoop in. He was the big favorite, the MVP favorite before the season started. I know he's got to overcome Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, but those are 2 teams that are almost going to basically wrap things up very soon, where Josh Allen is going to be playing some meaningful games really till the end of the season here. So for the opportunity to get him at 8-1 to win the MVP, I think it's still some really good odds to take him at.
Okay, well, on the other side of that game, Dolphins now on a 3-game losing skid, falling to 8-6. They're still in the playoff picture, right? But like 3 teams in the AFC are just a half a game back, okay? So is it a grim Christmas future in Miami? They are +175 to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't want to go there because I think Miami is actually a very good team, and we saw that yesterday. Like, if it's not Tyreek Hill, it can easily be Jalen Waddle on offense. Tua put in one of his best performances, and people kept saying, oh, Tua's not good in the cold. He can't perform in the cold. That was a pretty damn good game that we saw from Tua yesterday. If you look at some of the other odds they have, over 9.5 wins is at -190. To make the playoffs, -225. I think you kind of missed the boat on anything to do with Miami in the futures-wise at this point. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, so I'm not looking at that either. So I think this is a stay-away spot for me from the Dolphins. But I do think that the performance we saw yesterday really could kind of show what we could see in the playoffs here. I think if the Dolphins do indeed make the playoffs, they can be a dangerous team. They got a lot of offense that they can throw at you there. So I'm not placing any bets here, but I think the Dolphins are definitely a team to watch if they do make the playoffs.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Steve. Up next, Josh is going to be back to take a look at some interesting props, some Sunday specials. You know, we'll just go through and
go through that.
Have a little fun with that. The Sweat presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll be right back. everyone? We are on the last leg of the show we call The Sweat. I'm Jesse Cofield, Steve Buchanan, Josh Applebaum. All right, guys, it is Sunday specials time. Our favorite part of the show. We love it. Steve, just do it. Hit us with your Sunday special.
Yeah, this one is at plus 600. It's Mike Williams to have over 100 receiving yards. Derrick Henry to have over 100 rushing yards. Williams went for 116 receiving yards on just 6 catches last week. He's missed a bunch of games. In the 9 games that he's played, though, he's leading the team in targets of 20 yards or more. And then, of course, the Chargers, one of the worst run defenses in the league, allowing an average of 129 rushing yards per game. Facing Derrick Henry, oh boy, that's going to be a tough one there. 6-1 odds for that parlay.
All right, Josh, where are you going with your Sunday special today?
So we hit on this game a little bit earlier, Jesse, but give me Pittsburgh and Carolina. I'm going to look toward the running backs in this game. Najee Harris and Deontay Foreman. If they can at least get 75 yards or more, both here, that's plus 350 at a payout. And again, I'm going money line here. I just know I like that move on Carolina. But in terms of these guys, plus 350, 75 yards rushing or more. You look at Harris. He's gone over this number in 3 of his last 5. Carolina's 23rd in the NFL, giving up almost 130 rushing yards a game. And Foreman, he's gone over 75 in 4 of his last 7. Pittsburgh just gave up 215 to Baltimore, and J.K. Dobbins had over 100 there. So let's get both these running backs 75 or more at plus 350.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That is all the time that we have for this week. But the good news is we're going to keep the show going over on the DK social channels, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure you join us there. We'll see you next Sunday here, and enjoy Week 15. What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Sweat. I'm Jesse Cofield, here to remind you that winning $1 million does not suck. Okay?
No.
So it's week 15. We got a Millie Maker. It is $20 to enter. Make sure that you get on it. Lock, 1 p.m., $20 entry. $1 million going to first place. What could be better than that? Maybe somebody to help you figure out who to slot into your lineups for said Millie Maker. Here to do just that, I got Emerson Latzia along with Jeff Ulrich.
Yeah, that is Broncos stan Jeff Ulrich to you, Jesse Cofield. Yeah, he's here to share his favorite plays at each position here on the salary board on DraftKings. Quarterback du jour, not Brett Rippon. What direction you going in, Jeff?
Yeah, no Russell Wilson to pick this week. Sorry. I mean, it did work out for us last week after I was mocked by the analysts, the host, everybody, and then, Russell Wilson outscored Patrick Mahomes.
Dude. You
Look,
make it easy.
We're going to go much chalk here this week. We're going to go with Jalen Hurts. Let's not overthink this. Jalen Hurts is playing the Chicago Bears. They're just the bottom of everything in terms of rush DVOA, pass DVOA. It's just a team that just doesn't do anything particularly well. Jalen Hurts is going to have A.J. Brown on the outside working against a couple of corners who are under 200 pounds and under 6 feet tall. It's just what you typically call a smash spot in the NFL. Jalen Hurts saw what Josh Allen did. He knows that he's got to put another big game for the NFL MVP race, which he's favored in right now. I think you just eat the chalk here. You go with Jalen Hurts, and you know what? I'm not even sure how chalky he's going to be. We've got Mahomes, we've got Fields, Herbert is projecting. So just take Jalen Hurts, start there, rush first quarterback, and we'll try and differentiate a little bit as we go down the lineup here.
I mean, one of the few quarterbacks who are a legitimate threat to hit that 300 passing yard bonus and the 100-yard rushing bonus for sure. Speaking of rushing, what direction? Yep. Speaking of rushing, what direction do you want to go in at running back, dude?
Yeah, let's go again. A little bit different here. We saw the big game come from a running back in Kansas City last week. It was Jerick McKinnon, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire out. It's really a two-man rotation. Isaiah Pacheco, I think, is in a really, really good spot here to potentially grab all the points against Houston. What do we know about the Texans? Well, their offense isn't going to do much, and their rush defense really banged up. Their defense is just banged up. They put a bunch of guys on IR this week. This team has not just waved the white flag. It has kind of just gone home. Like, I mean, it is just like, we're done. Like, we know we got 3 games, but we're done. Isaiah Pacheco averaging over 4.7 yards per carry in 4 of his last 5 games. So really good between the tackles, early down runner. And I think what you're going to see from Kansas City is they know that they like Jerick McKinnon. They want to rely on him, but the guy's 30 years old. He's had injury concerns. You really want to give Jerick McKinnon 25 touches, 2 games in a row. I don't think you're going to see that. I think if Kansas City gets out to a lead here, you're going to see a lot of Pacheco in this game. He's going to get red zone opportunities. Kansas City is going to try and get in there, get out with a lead quick, and just have Pacheco run down the clock. Really like him at under 6K.
Yeah, well, McKinnon goes off, just like last week, he goes off as a pass catcher, which, speaking of it, wide receiver, you're looking at America's team, but not that one, the real one in Jacksonville.
I really like Christian Kirk this week. Like, I mean, I think Christian Kirk could lead the slate in terms of receiving points. It would not shock me. This game between Dallas and Jacksonville has all the makings of a pace-up game. We got a lot of projected plays for this game. 2 teams who will play a bit faster, especially Dallas top 6 in terms of neutral situation, pace of play. And I think that the Jaguars are going to be able to handle the Dallas defense. What we've seen from Dallas over the last 3 weeks, they've allowed the 7th most yards to opposing wide receivers. Chris Moore just came in there and just, blitzed, they carved up this team from the slot. What do you think Christian Kirk and Trevor Lawrence are going to do here? Kirk's been very consistent, got over 100 yards receiving in 3 games already. He's got a 23% team target share. I think Chris Kirk, all kinds of goodness here. He's going to be in a good game flow situation, just a good fantasy environment. Love him at 6,600 this week.
Yeah, I've read that he's a guy you like to include in a lot of your top stacks today.
I think if you're stacking that game, you have to start with Kirk. And if you're using Lawrence, you have to start with Kirk. But you can use Kirk regardless of which quarterback you're going to use. Yeah.
All right, tight end, a position of frustration this year. Feels like every year in fantasy. Who's your guy this week?
All right. I mean, yeah, let's roll the dice here with Hunter Henry. I've kind of been on the looking for the Hunter Henry game, the big kind of breakout game for a while now. We saw Mac Jones and Hunter Henry have some really nice games together last year, a couple multi-touchdown games. It almost happened last week against Arizona. He got tackled at the 3-yard line, but they're really using him down the seam. Now no Devontae Parker in the lineup for the Patriots, and you're going up against the Raiders team that gets no pressure, that is just banged up in the secondary. And they're just again, kind of like Chicago, they're just kind of bad at everything. I think Derek Carr and Devontae Adams are going to put up points themselves and make this game a bit more of a shootout. So Hunter Henry in a really good spot against a weak passing defense. You've got him averaging, setting career highs in terms of yards per catches. Mac Jones is really looking to him downfield. I think the Patriots break it open a little bit and just target him a little bit more. It would not shock me if Henry showed up with a touchdown here. Really like him at 3,300 for large fields.
Yeah, it only helps him too, thanks to New England's wide receiver injury issues. So in the land of DST here, Jeff, how low are you going on the board?
All right, so in DST, we got to look at everything here. What's going on? DST is all about, to me, strategy. One thing that we definitely, I think, can count on on this slate is the Los Angeles Chargers passing game being heavily owned. Now, we think about that game. Yeah, I like the Chargers in that game too, but what if their defense comes through like it did in their last game against the Dolphins? I think the Chargers defense at 2,900 is really interesting. You're going to gain good leverage over all those passing stacks with the Chargers, because if the Chargers score a defensive touchdown, less pass attempts for Justin Herbert, And again, like you're going up against Ryan Tannehill, who's banged up this week, questionable with an ankle injury. If he comes out, you get Malik Willis here. So yeah, I get that the Chargers have allowed a lot of yards on the ground. It's a little bit of a scary situation, but DST is so variable. You got a bad quarterback here. You're getting good leverage against the rest of the field. If you use the Chargers DST and they're under 3K, I think it's a good spot to take a shot with the Chargers.
Risky, but you got to risk it for the biscuit, as the kids say, right, Jeff?
Yeah, that's exactly what the kids say, pal.
All right, nice work. We'll grab some primetime picks from you coming up. As for that quarterback you like today, Jalen Hurts, Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons taking a big shot at him this week, and Mike Golick Jr. has a few words he would like to say about that.
Micah Parsons went on the Voncast and was asked, when you look at the Eagles, is it Hurts or is it the team? Parsons responded, he said, I think it's a little bit of both, man. It's a system and team. I'm not trying to make no enemies. I just love the game so much, and I understand it so much that when things are off, I just can't hold it in. I almost got to say something. Now, Hurts declined to say anything. Jordan Mailata, his left tackle in Philadelphia, got a little bit spicy saying, I'm going to worry about the Bears. Micah should worry about his game too. I don't know who the F they're playing. Pardon my language. Just worry about who you got this week. I can understand, but this is really the first time this season I think anyone sort of brought up that idea with Jalen Hurts. Again, that's been almost exclusively a Tua conversation. And I think there's a couple of things to feed into that as we are having very real conversations right now about Jalen Hurts as the MVP, an award that I've said has been Patrick Mahomes for the vast majority of the season. I still think it's Patrick Mahomes, but Jalen absolutely is right now down the stretch as the Eagles are playing some of their best football in that conversation. And I think why it's different between the two has a couple of different factors that are always contextual, right? We've talked about Tua Tagovailoa in this offense, maybe not being able to create outside of the structure as much, struggling in the last couple of weeks when people knock them off kilter, knock their receivers off the timing, all the things that we watch the 49ers and the Chargers do in consecutive games. That's also so far been the only way that we've seen Tua affect the game. There's not a lot of other elements. I feel like when you factor in the fact that Jalen Hurts, even on the games where the passing attack hasn't been the way that Eagles decided to win, the one thing that we've said about them is the Eagles have been as multiple as anyone on offense. They've been able to win in a variety of different ways. Close games, dominant passing games, games where the ground game becomes the sole structure. They rushed for 363 yards in an NFL football game this season. And when Jalen Hurts is such a big part of that rushing attack and affects it in the way that we see guys like Josh Allen, guys like Lamar Jackson, other mobile quarterbacks around the league do so, it adds an element to your game that all of a sudden makes it a little harder even on an off passing day for people to criticize you in the same way because you're still finding a way to affect the outcome.
Welcome back to the Sweat, everybody. Court is now in session. Please rise for the Honorable Judge Steve Buchanan.
Yeah! His job is quite easy. Josh and Julian will share a few bets they like for today. Judge Bukes will do what he does best and judge them while having perfect hair.
Oh, yeah, we'll judge them all right.
While having perfect hair. Jules, you are up first. What bet do you like from Chiefs at Texans?
That is like an upgrade for Steve's overall look somehow.
I agree.
Right, we're going to Chiefs Texans here, and we're going to a guy that Jeff just talked about. So he outlined a lot of it for me. It's Isaiah Pacheco on the rushing yards, over 69.5. Houston, worst in the league in terms of rushing yards allowed, over $165. And then Pacheco's been the guy lately. The last 5 games since he kind of took over that starting role as the rusher against Jacksonville, he's been averaging 16 carries per game for over 78 rushing yards per game. So now you put it in with this game script of the Chiefs being over 2 touchdown favorites. And like Jeff kind of outlined, Jerick McKinnon is a guy you want to protect for your postseason run. If this game script does hold and the Chiefs are up a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you're going to want to hand it to the youngster and try and just let him grind out these extra yards in this game. He's a really tough runner. So he's been going over this lately in terms of his average yardage, and now it's the perfect matchup, the perfect game script.
Okay, Judge.
We like this one. Yeah, we like this one a lot. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you talk about this Texans run defense, if that's what you want to call it. They're allowing an average of 141 rushing yards per game. That is absolutely absurd. So you're telling me I only need 70 from our guy, the rookie here?
I think it's 165, but Keep going.
It doesn't matter. Listen, you're at home. I'm the judge, okay? And everything you say,
I'm looking at it
you
on the
can't-
internet
You
on my
can't speak
computer.
out of turn. Don't speak out of turn, okay? I will throw
All right.
you out.
You're in contempt.
I don't want
That's
any
right.
punishment.
Put him in contempt. That's what I'm
Contempt of
talking about.
Order. This is when you got to hit the damn thing.
It's plastic. It's not going to sound good.
Oh.
We cheaped out here at
He will
DraftKings.
remove you from this courtroom.
We'll make all this money. We get a plastic gavel. Like, come on.
All right, Josh, you're next. What's your bet? Titans
Josh,
and Chargers.
talk.
It's going to be hard to overcome that one there.
Yeah,
Shout out to
right.
the
You seem
graphics
nervous.
department too. I love the mustache. That's like
Samir.
spitting image.
That's
That's
Samir.
awesome.
That was
Great
great.
job, Samir. Bukes, what do you think about this one? Tennessee and the Chargers.
Okay.
I'm taking a gross Tennessee +3 here. I'll tell you why. Buy low, sell high. You look at the Chargers with a big primetime win against the Miami Dolphins as a dog winning outright. I think Tennessee, I'll admit, I've been playing them the last few weeks. They haven't come through. They've lost 3 straight. But I think it's your buy low watermark here to buy low on Tennessee. If you look at the way this line moved, you have about 70% of bets on the Chargers. Big public play. Makes sense. Tennessee struggling. Chargers off a big win. But Chargers were -3 all week. But all week the juice has been toward the +3 on Tennessee. +3, -115. I think it's a 425 game. We might get down to 2.5 in this one. If you look at Vrabel as a dog in his career, 22-14 against the spread, 61%. Dogs who failed to cover the previous week, 60% ATS this year. It's gross, but I'm going to take the +3 key number with the Titans.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think here, Judge Bukes?
Oh, this is gross.
Yeah.
If I could throw up all over this podium, I would do so. But we got a very expensive computer, not expensive gavel that I have to really worry about here. Here's the thing. The Tennessee Titans are going to have no answers defensively for the Chargers. They're basically fully healthy now. They got Keenan Allen getting double-digit targets in 2 straight games now. Mike Williams going over 100 yards on just 6 catches last week. And then you got Austin Eckler, who basically is more of a wide receiver than he is a running back. The Titans have allowed the 2nd most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks. Justin Herbert has been firing on all cylinders here. I want no part of the Tennessee Titans. That is a horrible decision that you made. I would throw you out with this plastic gavel if I could, but we got to keep you here. The segment's still going, so we'll proceed and talk to Julian, who has to be home.
Yeah, Julian, we want a bet from Bengals at Bucks, and I think you've been cheating because.
Yeah, he watched the show earlier.
Yeah, this is Steve's best bet.
Yeah, of course.
What's your bet in this one,
Yeah.
Jules?
Total
I'm telling
coward.
you.
I submit my picks. I submit these things before the show starts. I don't know what Steve's best bet is. Kind of scares me off this one now.
Yeah, the guy who's 10-1-1. You don't want to
Let's
follow
note,
that guy.
Steve-
What an idiot.
Let's note Steve Buchanan is on a losing streak on his best bets on this show.
1 week.
Yeah, bro,
Yeah,
that's a streak.
losing streak. So
Streaks multiple games. isn't it?
I all the money. Josh is going to hate this one. Josh probably bet the Bucks. The books maybe biggest need of the week in NFL is going to be the Bucks with the 3.5. Generally, I would stay away from this one, but I'm going Bengals -3.5, which I did see the juice on DK go to -105. If we could get a Bengals -3, that would be spectacular. But I'm just going to say the market is wrong on the Bucks. This is not a numbers and trends play. This is more of a gut feel play, which can be dicey. But how many weeks do we have to keep seeing these numbers on the Bucks who have not covered a game at home this season? This number doesn't feel adjusted at all to what we've seen from the Bucks the last few weeks and the winning streak that we've seen from the Bengals, who are an NFL best 10-3 against the spread and have been even better since they put more power into the hands of the players. The coaches, relinquished some of the play calling to guys like Joe Burrow, and they've gotten even better. I just think, and both of those receivers, by the way, are in for Cincy, so they're going to have all their pass catchers for Burrow. I just think at some point, we've got to admit that the market is wrong on Tampa, and this should probably be a few more points. So I will go against the books and lay it with the Bengals.
Steve, I know you have something to say about
If Steve
this.
wants to add
Maybe
anything on
about
his best bet.
maybe about the way he presented it. I don't know.
I mean, he could not stop talking. I mean, I know he hasn't been on the show much, but all of his energy is being used on that one answer when I already gave you all the reasons why this is a bet to play, because everybody watches the show in its entirety. We talked about it earlier. Tampa Bay has yet to cover a spread at home this season. 0-5-1. 0-5-1 on the year covering a spread at home. Only them and the Ravens are the only 2 teams that haven't covered at home. The Bengals firing on all cylinders right now, even with a couple of their receivers questionable. Please, you got Jamar Chase, you got Joe Mixon.
I just told you those guys are playing.
You are guilty of not shutting up. That's what I'm going to say that you're guilty of.
I have no problem standing up to authority.
Yeah, well, good. You're at home. You're a coward. You're on Zoom. Go ahead. Do the next one.
All right,
Just like
last
you
one
last
here.
week.
All right, Josh, you're going to Sunday Night Football for your bet here.
Yeah, G-Men, Washington. I think on the spread, this one's really difficult because you have a lot of matches on the Giants getting 4.5. Divisional dogs have been great this year, 60%. Daniel Jones is a dog in his career, 62% ATS, and teams off a blowout loss of 20 points or more are actually covering the following week at around a 62% clip the last few years. So what's difficult, though, is that it looks like kind of Washington sharp here. They're only getting about 30% of bets. Public is on the G-Men, yet the line is going to Washington, -3.5 to -4.5. So I don't really want either side of this. I have conflicting systems, so I'm just going to take the under in this one. It opened 40.5, really hasn't moved off of 40.5. These outdoor divisional unders have been a really good angle here to hit. 68% this year. These teams tied 20-20 a couple weeks ago. 30 degrees, 10-mile-per-hour winds. I'm going to hope for like a 20-17 type game. I'll take the under 40.5.
Uh-oh, Judge Bukes. He just mentioned the weather. We know that's a hot button topic.
It did go under last week in the Bills game. Remember you called me crazy?
Yeah, I know you did, but the reasoning that you gave was one of the dumbest things that we've said on this show. And how long have we been doing this show now? Like 7-8 years?
Yeah.
That's a very high bar to cross. If I'm taking anything in this game, I'll take the G-Men at +4.5. That's what I like there. The Giants have been excellent against the spread as underdogs this season. They're 7-2 against the spread as underdogs. That's the one to make there. Getting that at a decent number there, at +4.5. You know, Josh can say all these things about like divisional unders when, you know, the moon is in this certain direction and you know, everybody's in, what's that, retrograde, whatever all that crap is.
Gatorade.
Yeah,
Venus.
Jesse loves that
Gatorade.
stuff.
Gatorade.
We'll take the G-Men at +4.5. That's one I feel comfortable with. The under, whatever. I don't know.
Case closed.
That's
baby.
right.
Judge
Oh,
Slam
He
it.
threw the
Watch
gavel.
out. Yeah, but it's a cheap gavel. It
That's
wouldn't
a
hurt
cheap
somebody.
gavel. Pay
All
up.
right, all right. We're gonna grab some of Jeff's primetime
Yeah,
picks
let's do
coming
that.
up next. Right after we head down to Miami, takes are as hot as the weather in South Beach. Check out this scorcher from Levichard and Friends. Hey, the judge.
Taking the wig off.
The Buffalo Bills should be mandated by the National Football League to have a dome over their stadium.
Oh,
Yes.
come on.
This is ridiculous.
Give
Loser
me a
mentality.
What do you mean loser mentality? No,
Loser.
like they've already had to move one game because of conditions in the area. There was literally 6 feet of snow in Buffalo where they couldn't even play a football game.
Right.
This weekend, I'm already reading reports about there being several inches of snow. It's going to be ridiculous conditions to play in. First off, Buffalo as a weather city should probably not have a football team. Let's start there.
Okay.
But let's move on from there to, at the very least, if we must have a football team in Buffalo, can they?
Bob is yelling at you. From
Hey, time out a second. Can you put that on the poll, please? Should Buffalo, as a weather city, have a football team? It's absurd. I
You're
mean,
going to get roasted.
I know. What?
know.
I hope so. You know what? I'll
You're,
put
you're
that.
taking out Chicago. You're taking out Cleveland.
Green Bay.
no, and I'm glad you brought up
tundra.
Chicago because they were talking about putting a dome stadium in Chicago. Certain
As
cities.
they should.
No,
They
you're
should.
supposed to play football outdoors in
No,
certain cities.
That one should
Yes.
have a retractable roof
No.
because I would love
Miami
to see
should
a
have
Super
a
Bowl.
retractable roof then.
I would agree.
All right, couple primetime matchups on tap. So tonight it's the Giants and Washington, a couple teams that tied just 2 weeks ago. And then on Monday Night Football, Baker Mayfield's going to lead the lowly Rams into Green Bay, where in his last visit he tossed 4 interceptions. So let's grab some primetime picks here from Jeff Ulrich. Start us with your favorite bet for Giants Commanders this evening, dude.
And I mean, when Josh was talking about this game, he pretty much just echoed every single feeling I had about it. I don't want to pick a side here. This is just ugly. These two teams tied a couple weeks ago. You got Washington coming off a weird bye because now they're playing the same team they did in the last game. But then the Giants are probably, you know, like the better coach team. And I obviously have Daniel Jones, who's kind of a mobile elite threat. So I'm going to stay off the line as well and say take the under, exactly like Josh said. Pretty much every single thing he was saying was factoring into this decision. But you look at what Washington's done. Their defense has been very, very solid. And just from a pace of play standpoint, what have we seen Washington do? When they get a lead, they hammer Brian Robinson Jr. That's what they've been doing. This guy's been averaging about 20 carries per game. He's going to have some success against the Giants because they're a bottom 5 rush defense. So everything here just tells me 2017, 23-10, pick a number, but this one's probably going to go under 40.5 points. Really like the fact we're getting a 40 total here to take the under. And that's the way I'm going to lean into this game as well.
All right, pretty shocked by your captain choice in this one, Jeff.
Why? Why are you shocked by Daniel Jones, Jesse? You got something against Daniel Jones?
Giants are trash.
What? Well, Daniel Jones, I mean, like, okay, this
He's,
whole
like,
game
fine.
is trash.
I mean, it's a
Like,
four-game winless streak here they're
Yeah.
on, too. Well, they had the tie,
Okay.
3
Yeah.
losses and a tie.
Let's break this down. You just heard two guys talk about how badly they want to take the under here. So what's the one thing that we can count on for showdown purposes? It's the quarterback who's going to touch the ball all the time and a guy who rushes a ton. I think that you're going to need the points from Daniel Jones's rushing yards here. And that's my whole thesis on Daniel Jones here. Yeah, maybe Brian Robinson takes 20 carries again, but there's no guarantee he gets in the end zone. What is guaranteed is Daniel Jones is going to rush the ball, averaging over 40 yards rushing per game. We saw him against Washington rack up 71 yards in an effort where, again, the game was close. He really kind of used his legs towards the end of that one to keep things close too. So if we get like one touchdown here in the passing game and some decent yardage here, I mean, again, 18 points, that could be the high mark for this game. So whenever you have a rushing quarterback for showdown, you have to consider him. And in this scenario with no other, like main carry running back, a guy who's also involved in the passing game on the other side, yeah, I'll take Daniel Jones as my captain here. I think that's the most obvious play.
He took 4 sacks and was hit 8 times overall in his last time out. So
He's tough.
hopefully
He's okay.
he
He'll
can
be
stay
fine.
on his feet, Jeff.
Yeah, don't get all
He
tripped
won't
up
get
there.
replaced in this game. All right, keep going.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow night, what are you going to target here on the DK Sportsbook for Rams-Packers?
Yeah, I'm going to target Christian Watson, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I love this spot for Watson. What did we see? What do we know about the Rams defense here? They're still very stout against the run. They actually held up Josh Jacobs to under 100 yards, which is just an impressive feat by anyone these days. Even with them banged up a little bit on the D-line, I mean, that is the strength of their defense. But their secondary this year, 6th most fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. I think Christian Watson comes in, and I think he puts on a little bit of a show in prime time here. I don't mind taking Christian Watson over 48.5 yards, but I'd be looking to the alt lines here. They're pretty juicy on DK, plus 295 for 75 yards or more, plus 650 for 100 yards or more. We know Watson can get there. He's been the most targeted wide receiver on Green Bay. I think they're going to have to look to the pass a little bit more in this game just because of matchups. Again, not as much pressure on Rodgers because of the banged up D-line for the Rams. Give me Watson here for all the overs and for the big money on DraftKings.
Yeah, and it looks like you're sticking with him as your captain for showdowns here.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, you can make a lot of art. There's a lot of different options, I think, for this game than there is for the Washington Giants game, where I think we're more condensed in terms of like a couple players there. You got Aaron Jones. Obviously, A.J. Dillon's been looking good too. He could definitely pop up, but I'm going to play the matchup here and stick with Christian Watson. Again, like this matchup against this secondary, you should not be fearful of Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion, anymore. We saw Devontae Adams go for a long catch against him. The only reason Devontae Adams didn't go off in the last game is because the Raiders got ahead and they just tried to milk the clock. And obviously it cost them the win, but I don't necessarily think that Green Bay is going to give, the Rams the benefit of the doubt twice there. If they get ahead, I think they're going to keep targeting Christian Watson, which is what they've been doing. You're getting a nice little discount there, 13-2. And I think the ownership in this one will be fairly spread because of the Jones factor. Aaron Rodgers, people gravitate towards, maybe even see some people taking some shots with like Baker Mayfield. So give me Christian Watson here. I really think he puts on a show here in prime time.
All right, Jeff, good stuff, dude. We got one more break to go, one more block to go. We'll see which players our analysts are backing to take a trip to the end zone coming up. Maybe someone on the Lions. The Lions, by the way, who have clearly impressed Mike Lombardi.
I watched a lot of the game. I went through it this morning, and, I mean, they did. I mean, look, they did a great job on Dalvin Cook. He had the red zone turnover. This was a Minnesota game that was not typical of Minnesota in the sense that Minnesota typically is really good in the red zone. They were 2 for 4. They're usually good on defense in the red zone like they were against the Jets. They weren't against Detroit. Detroit's red zone offense has really been very effective. They were 2 for 2. Detroit made big plays, 46 and a 41-yard touchdown on big plays. But I think credit the Detroit defense for stopping the run, making the game one-dimensional. Credit the referees for calling Jefferson out of bounds. because it made the close. And look, credit Campbell for the fake punt was a great call. Great call, needed that, kind of turned the momentum. But the fullback in the flat with your man Sewell, which is really the offensive tackle in the flat, was a hell of a call. Hell of a call. Perfect call. Kind of what they absolutely needed at that moment. And they did it. And look, nobody's playing better than Goff right now. Goff has been very effective. His accuracy down the field has been great. They didn't get any pressure on him. He had time to throw the ball in the pocket. And both teams averaged 6-7 yards per play. But this Detroit team just found ways to get the ball. It made the big plays, 48-yard touchdown, 41-yard touchdown. I mean, they make big plays, and credit them. I thought they would win the game.
All right, final block of the show. What do you say we reward ourselves for all of our award-winning hard work and material today?
What?
You had me reward ourselves. Go ahead.
Take a little break and let kind of Buke steer the ship here as we enter port. You guys are going to talk favorite touchdown scorer bets right now to wrap up the show.
Move out of the way, Steve.
Little L7 weenie over there. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
That was the toss? Okay.
Yeah.
I literally tossed you, but you weren't
Holy
paying
crap.
attention because you were booping Jules.
No, that was a really bad toss. Okay, we're going to talk about our favorite touchdown props for the day. Josh, why don't you kick us off here with this one?
Yeah, I'll look toward Dallas and Jacksonville. This is going to make Emerson very happy. So my prop bet is going to be Ezekiel Elliott to score a touchdown anytime during this game, minus 120. He's got a touchdown in 6 straight games. Emerson, that might not make you excited, but I'm taking, just to fit this in before the end of the show, the Jags getting 4 today because this one looks pretty sharp. They opened +6. They're down to +4. Everybody's betting Dallas, but this line keeps going down to Jacksonville. So give me Zeke to score, maybe a higher scoring game. The total did tick up, 46.5 to 47.5. But really what I'm excited for, Emerson, +4 with the Jags.
Hell yeah, brother.
Jeff, let's go with you here. And please stop. You tossed a second
You're
to us
not
and
in
keep
the
talking.
segment.
The camera was on me.
Let's go to Jeff, and hopefully you don't, kind of kiss ass to Emerson.
No, I will kiss ass to the Boston area, which is where DraftKings is located, and go with Hunter Henry for a touchdown prop. Look, if you watched the last game, you saw how close Hunter Henry came to the end zone, tackled at the 3-yard line. But I love the way that him and Mac Jones just work down the seam. And again, I mentioned this before. No Devontae Parker, a really weak pass defense in the Raiders in a game that I think is going to be very high paced. Henry scored 9 touchdowns with Mac Jones last year. He's only got 2. He is the perfect positive regression candidate. You know what? Don't just take him at +250 to score a touchdown. Take him at +2,000 to score 2 touchdowns today because the Raiders, they stink.
All right, Julian, quickly go through here and just try not to breathe on me.
Sure. Miles Sanders, I guess, has gone down to -110 anytime touchdown score. So I'll take the better price. He has 5 in his last 3 games combined. He has 11 on the season. The Bears have given up 21 on the season. That's over 1.6 per game. Miles Sanders is going to score a touchdown.
And then real quick, I'm going to go Chris Moore with the Texans. The Kansas City Chiefs have allowed the most receiving touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. 12 targets for Moore last week. Give it back to these two.
All right, and back to us two. They mean Emerson and Jesse. That's all the time we have for the day. Thank you for tuning in with us. You can also catch us during the week at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you tune in. We talk all sports, but enjoy Week 15. Enjoy the
Week
games.
15. Have a good Christmas and holiday season, and we have pizza in the kitchen.
That's the worst.
Of course there's food when I'm not there.
He just needs to not talk. Thanks, guys.
We need to think about a different host.
Oh.